Hi, I'm Claire and welcome to Genrewise, news from the world of SFF. I'm recording on March 9th and today we are going to start by looking at awards news. Then we'll move on to book news, fandom news, then film and TV news, and finally IRL news. For every item that I'm talking about, I'm going to link extra information and more in-depth articles in the description box below, so you can always check there for further reading. First up in awards news, we've got a couple of new awards shortlists, starting with the Kitschies, which reward the year's most progressive, intelligent and entertaining fiction that contains elements of the speculative or fantastic. As you would expect from the description of the award, the finalists are varied and diverse and weird, and all of them sound super interesting. It's a bunch of books I'm really excited to check out. Lambda Literary, a US organization advancing LGBTQ literature, has announced the finalists for the 30th annual Lambda Literary Awards, including a great lineup for the LGBTQ SFF horror category, in which finalists include River Solomon, Lara Elena Donnelly, Nikki Drayden, and Annalie Newitz. Next, the Audio Publishers Association has revealed the winners of the 2019 Audio Awards. They include The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy Hexagonal Phase by Owen Colfer and Douglas Adams for Best Science Fiction, Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik for Best Fantasy, and Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi, which won the overall Best Audiobook of the Year award. And finally, we need to talk about the Nebulas. Shortly after the list of finalists for this year's awards was revealed, questions about a potential voting slate began to emerge. The short version is that during the nomination period, an author on a private Facebook group about self-publishing posted a list of eligible self-published titles and encouraged people to nominate them to raise the profile of self-published works, including discussions of how probable it was that certain titles might make it to the final list based on the previous year's numbers and stats and other things like that. And as it turns out, some of those books did make it onto the final Nebula ballot. There has been a lot of discussion in the community since this all came out, including a statement from the original poster of the list in which he says he never intended to create a slate or a voting block, but he also acknowledges that he did get a lot of things wrong. He apologized for causing harm, which is good, and also recused his own nomination, which is also good. However, much like with previous voting slates in SFF awards, the damage has kind of already been done. Plenty of the authors on the recommended list were not consulted prior to being added to it and wanted nothing to do with it. Some authors in there weren't actually self-published, but were published with traditional small presses. These authors are now having to deal with a controversy that goes far beyond this one voting slate and into the miasma that is a recent history of the sad puppies and the rabid puppies, which, like, no one wants that to be a thing anymore. We don't want to have to talk about that on a regular again. Make it stop. First up in books, we've got extremely exciting news from Serial Box, the publishing startup that specializes in long-form serialized fiction. They've just announced a new partnership with Marvel, which will see Serial Box release new stories about Black Panther, Black Widow, Jessica Jones, and Thor. Of course, these stories will be released in serialized installments, and they will also be written by writing teams rather than single writers. Serial Box has experimented with using TV-style writers' rooms before, including in their ongoing science fiction serial The Vila, which just recently started coming out, and which I would heartily recommend. It is really great. Alex de Campi will be editing and showrunning the entire line of Marvel serials, with the first to come out being Thor sometime this summer. The writer's room for Thor includes Yoon Ha Lee and Jay Edidin of Jay and Miles Explain the X-Men, so I'm really looking forward to that. Next up, we've got a release date and a title announced for the second book in Philip Pullman's Book of Dust series, a prequel to his Dark Materials. The new book will be out on the 3rd of October 2019, and it will be called The Secret Commonwealth. Grand Central Publishing, a division of the Hachette Group, is releasing brand new editions of Octavia E. Butler's Parable novels, starting with Parable of the Sower on April 30th and continuing with Parable of the Talents later this year. In addition to this gorgeous new cover, Parable of the Sower will come with a new foreword by Hugo and Nebula Award winner N.K. Jemisin. And finally, we've got another pay what you want ebook bundle available on Story Bundle. This one was curated by SFWA President Kat Rambo, and it's all about feminist futures. The basic bundle includes 4 books, but if you decide to pay over $15, you'll get 6 extra books, including Cat Pictures Please and Other Stories, an anthology by Naomi Kritzer. When you set your price, you can also choose what percentage of the money you'd like to go directly to the authors, and you can donate to Girls Write Now, a creative writing and mentoring organization for high school girls. Next up, we've got fandom news, and we are starting with a delightful fan video. Star Wars Always is a 5-minute long fan-made trailer for all 10 Star Wars movies. It was edited by That 70s Show actor Topher Grace, who as it turns out is a huge Star Wars fan and really good at video editing. That video gave me so many feels, and I was also delighted to learn that Topher Grace previously edited a 85-minute cut of the prequel trilogy all smushed together, and that he's now working on editing down the Hobbit trilogy to one feature-length film. Both of those sound really interesting and intriguing to me. Next, we've got a new video series from Feminist Frequency. Queer Tropes is a 3-part miniseries presented by Carolyn Petit, and it was released a few days ago. I've not had time to watch all of it yet, but from what I've seen so far, it's very much a follow-up to Tropes vs. Women, applying the same critical feminist lens to the portrayal of LGBTQ+ characters in video games and in media in general. And finally, in fandom news, feminist sci-fi and fantasy convention WizCon have announced their annual bake sale in support of the James Tiptree Jr. Literary Awards. Now I know this is a bit of a niche piece of news, but I had to mention it because it's exactly at the confluence of 3 things I very deeply care about: science fiction, feminism, and delicious baked goods. I have never been to WizCon myself, but if you are attending this year, please consider making something to donate to the bake sale, or just dropping by to support the Tiptree Awards and buy yourself delicious baked treats. All the information is of course in the description box. First up in film and TV news is of course the release of Captain Marvel, the 21st film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and the first to be helmed by a woman. Ahead of release, there was talk of a boycott of the movie, and it was getting review bombed on Rotten Tomatoes to the extent that the site completely changed the way it was displaying public scores for unreleased movies. That's how far it was. As I'm recording this, opening weekend isn't even finished yet, and the movie has already done really well at the box office. Pretty much everyone I know who is into superhero films at all went to see it as soon as possible. I've already recorded a podcast episode about it, and I'm gonna film a video discussing it this week, so I won't go into too much detail here, but I pretty much loved it. It was really good fun, and the cat was great. I would definitely recommend it. Next up, we've got quite a few exciting new trailers in the last couple of weeks. I will of course leave links to all of them in the description box below in case you've missed any of them, but first we've got our first full trailer for Good Omens, and in that we got to see a lot of the new characters that we hadn't encountered in the previous teasers. The 4 Knights of the Apocalypse looked pretty flipping good, and I am really looking forward to seeing more of Agnes Nutter, Witch. I thought some of the CGI in there looked a teensy bit dodgy, but hopefully that'll look better in the finished product. The first proper trailer for season 8 of Game of Thrones finally came out, and although it doesn't really tell us that much, I do love having a bit more basis on which to speculate about what's gonna happen in season 8. I am pretty excited to know how the story wraps up. It's starting so soon! We also got a trailer for the next X-Men movie, Dark Phoenix, which comes out in June. We've seen the Dark Phoenix story done before in previous X-Men movies, and it was not the best, but I am looking forward to seeing Sophie Turner's take on the character, because I love her as an actor, and because I'm also a really easy mark for superhero movies. I always get really hyped, and I actually think the trailer looked pretty cool. And finally, we've got some Star Trek news. CBS All Access has renewed Star Trek Discovery for a 3rd season. Co-executive producer Michelle Paradise will be showrunning season 3 alongside Alex Kurtzman, the current showrunner. As for the upcoming Picard show, rumors abound. There have been reports of casting calls and character descriptions going out, all of which sound plausible, but I'm not sure if anything's been officially confirmed. The article I'm linking in the description below claims to have exclusive information and character breakdowns, which might be of interest if you're a Trekkie and you want to wildly speculate about what might be in that show. Moving on to IRL news, Royal Mail is issuing a collection of Marvel-based stamps. UK fans can now pre-order stamps featuring heroes like Spider-Man, Captain Marvel, Iron Man, Black Panther, and Peggy Carter. But not Captain America, oh no. Instead we get Captain Britain and Union Jack because they are British stamps. Let's not go forgetting about that. They come out on March 14th and a booklet of 10 first class stamps will set you back £6.99, and by you, I mean me, because I've already ordered a bunch. And finally, Nintendo have announced the release of the next set of Pokemon games, Pokemon Sword and Shield. We've got a full new trailer, a map for the new region Galar, which is loosely based on the United Kingdom. That's pretty exciting. And we've also got our first look at our 3 starter Pokemon, even though we don't have any information about the evolutions yet. I can already tell that I'm gonna go for Sobble because it looks mildly surprised and worried, and if you've ever seen a picture of my cat not sleeping, you will know that she too has resting worrying face. So basically one look at Sobble and I can already tell that I would die for my tiny water child. In any case, the games are scheduled to release sometime later this year, but we don't have a precise date yet. So that's it, this was Genrewise. I hope you enjoyed it, and please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Are you excited for Marvel serialized stories on Cereal Box? Have you seen Captain Marvel yet? What did you think? And which starters are you gonna choose in Sword and Shield? Are you waiting for more info on the evolutions? Those are all important questions and I want to know your answers. If you like the show, please share it around. I work really hard on it and I'd love for as many people as possible to see it. Thanks for watching, and I hope you'll join me again in a couple of weeks for more science fiction, fantasy, and fandom news. If you'd like to see more from me, you can check out a previous video on screen right now. And if you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button that's on my face for a new video from me every week. I've been Claire, thanks so much for watching, and see you soon.